Welcome back. It is another day after a win. You got to like it as the Chiefs get ready for some needed recovery. We're going to get into where do they go from here. It is that take a breath moment. And how do they finish strong through this season? Matt Derrick's here with us from ChiefsDigest.com. We're going to get into how and where they get these things done today on Locked On Chiefs.
From the land of the free and the home of the Chiefs, this is the Locked On Chiefs podcast.
Get stuck in. That's what we're doing. Welcome back, everybody. This is Locked On Chiefs, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day for free on every platform, audio, video, and whatnot. Hit that YouTube Plus button and subscribe if you would. Appreciate that. We have a lot going on. Thanks for making us your first listen. Check out the draft show for another listen and another Locked On show for any sport that you're looking for, because we got them all. This is Matt Derrick, all extraordinaire beat reporter who understands more about the team than I do. And I hopefully won't be on a ledge today, Matt. But hey, we got to start somewhere, right?
You can't be on a ledge after a 44-23 win. You're good, right?
I suppose I get it, but in all seriousness, that game, just taking another giant step back, that game was the game that I'm always looking for from them. 20-ish points. You kept the opposing team under 28, 24 this time. You locked it all together. You looked what I consider explosive. Now, it's not, we'll get into the definition of that in a minute about what's explosive and what isn't. But this should be the goal, I think, for every week. Is there a couple things that are going to go wrong? Sure. But this is what it ought to look like in my head. How does that differ from what your expectation ought to be?
Yeah, this is the dream scenario of what it should be. You can't expect it to be this way all the time. Can't average 10 yards a play all the time. So, you got to be reasonable in your expectations. But this is the idealized version of what the Chiefs offense should be, which is that football goes a lot of different places. There's more than a few guys who are contributing. You're doing things in a lot of different ways. You're beating teams on the ground. You're beating them around the edge. You're beating them downfield. You're beating them in the middle. Mahomes is out there just playing catch with some guys, and the guys who have speed are running around in space. That is absolutely everything that you want this Chiefs offense to be. Convert on third downs. This team is built to run up and down the field, and they ran up and down the field on the 49ers.
Well, I am a demanding SOB, and I want this every week, no matter who the opponent is. I just don't care. That's okay. They don't have to live up to that. But it's funny. Like you said, third down efficiency was there. You were able to move the ball. You distributed it. I counted, what was it? Grand total of 9. What I consider explosive plays. That's 15 yards or more. Doesn't matter whether it's on the ground or in the pass game. It's a different kind of explosion because we're not seeing the 60 and 70-yard plays, but it's still explosive. And the fact that it's multiple players, that's what it means to me, is that having that width of the field where anybody could go for a big chunk. That's what I'm looking for, is that live up to what we've seen with the Hill years and having those, propensity for 40-plus yard plays.
See, this is, to me, what we saw against the 49ers is closer to the 2018 Chiefs offense than anything that we've seen since then. That was kind of the pinnacle. As far as particularly, let's go back to the first half of the season when they had Kareem Hunt. that was the absolute best that the Chiefs offense has been. And that's honestly, best that any NFL offense has almost ever been, is that period of time. And what they did against the 49ers was close. You talk about the 9 explosive plays. I think they came from 8 different players. And that was something that this team got very, I don't want to necessarily say one-dimensional, but definitely two-dimensional in the last few years. Not having Kareem Hunt, obviously what he was able to do in this offense was amazing. And you've never been able to quite replicate that, and you're still not replicating that. But as far as having another player who can go off like that, now the Chiefs, obviously they have a couple of different guys that can be 100-yard receivers. They still have Travis Kelce. They've got multiple pieces, and now you can't exclude McCole Hardman as far as, being one of those explosive players. They had some guys doing it on the ground as well. So even though maybe none of those guys are individually Kareem Hunt, you're getting kind of a collective good production from that group against the 49ers. Hey, I'm not saying that they're there yet. They've got work to do. They need to replicate this and keep it going. But this is the most multi-dimensional that we've seen the Chiefs offense be in a long, long time. Because even when they've had good days, in the last few years, it was because Hill and Kelsey had big days. It wasn't because 3 or 4 guys had big days.
Yeah. And it's made them easier to defend. I think we all understand that now. And it's something that we've been kind of leaning towards. But at the end of the day, for me, it's the number of plays it takes you to score in a drive. It's the number of drives you fit into a ball game. And that all still, by definition, is still explosive. And they're just really starting to even think about clicking. Like, I don't think this is 3/4 of what they're going to be capable of when everybody settles in. Juju's coming around. We'll talk about him coming up later. But overall, it all comes back to Mahomes. The thing for me that was the most encouraging on the day was, unlike against the Bills, throws an interception early and recovers, settles down, becomes more businesslike and less crazy running around trying to make a play like. And I think that's a turning point in the evolution of this quarterback and this offense.
Well, and that's why I go back to the game plan and the execution for what they did against the 49ers, because I think also this was the best game plan that we've seen from this team all season long, and the best execution of it. I mean, I think we have seen a couple of times this season when I've said that I felt like Mahomes came out of the box trying to look for the big plays early and trying to push the football. And sometimes it's even just trying to do that on 1st and 2nd downs and putting themselves into bad spots. That's fundamental football. I mean, defensively, Steve Spagnuolo was always telling us, hey, you win football games by putting teams on 3rd and long so you can go after them. If you're not getting the job done on 1st and 2nd down as an offense, 3rd downs get really hard to convert. Why were the Chiefs able to convert so many 3rd downs against the 49ers? Well, they weren't all 3rd and 20 screens at Jerick McKinnon. I mean, it's usually because, one, don't get the 3rd down, which the Chiefs did not get the 3rd down very often with Mahomes. And 2, they're short conversions. You give Mahomes 3rd and 2s to convert, or he's getting it done on 2nd down because you got yards on 1st down and you're not facing 2nds and 10s and 3rd and 8s. That is easy pickings for the Andy Reid offense and for Patrick Mahomes. And, so taking what's there, which the game plan was built to do that, because what they were trying to do was get rid of the football quickly, make sure that Bosa and that defensive front didn't have time to put much pressure on. They went to a lot of the jet sweeps, plays that were designed to add another wrinkle to slowing down the rush. They were using either some tight ends or running backs to block, to give the line a little bit more time. They did all the things that they have been making adjustments to, except against the 49ers, they did them from first snap. Yeah. And I think that was, why we didn't see this team have to make any in-game adjustments, because they were basically doing what they do best from the first moment, and they didn't try to get too smart. I mean, this was just an Andy Reid classic game plan, and they executed it perfectly.
And that's what happens when you set it up and then you execute. It allows you to have a little bit more breathing room. It allows you to stay on target and on task. That's what it comes down to, whether it's the offense or the defense we have to talk about, because there's getting some guys back. There's losing somebody else. We have news for you today. We're going to cover what's going on with the defense, as well as the emergence of who's the stars coming up here a little bit later. But we got to tell you about a couple of our pals that are helping us out. As you gear up for fall, you need to find the right people to help your team and your small business fire on all the cylinders. LinkedIn Jobs is here to make it easier for you to find the people that you want to talk to faster and for free. I'm always looking for good content creators, graphic artists, et cetera, et cetera. It makes it simple to just create a job in minutes on LinkedIn Jobs and reach your network and beyond to the world's largest professional network of over 810 million people. You add your job, and the purple hashtag hiring frame comes in on your LinkedIn profile, and it spreads the word to your network as well as others that you're trying to find the right people to hire. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the candidates that you want to talk to faster. And did you know that every week 40 million job seekers visit LinkedIn? Post your job for free on linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL. That's linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL to post your job for free. Terms and conditions do apply. Everybody wants to have comfort, whether you're dressed up, khaki style pants, or you're just hanging out in sweats or shorts. You want it all, and you want to be comfortable. And Birddogs has just launched sweatpants. You got to get in on these because they're Charmin soft and they keep everything where it's supposed to be and you super comfortable. Whether you're down in Florida, maybe it's 70 degrees, or maybe it's the frozen north of the dead of winter and it's -20. You can do everything you want in Birddogs. That's what it's for. And right now we have a special deal for you. Go check them out and get a rope hat included. Use the promo code Locked On. That's the easiest way to do it. And they'll throw that hat in for free. Always a nice thing. Birddogs.com. The promo code's Locked On for, boom, a free Birddogs rope hat, and with your pair of Birddogs that you can get in any kind of style that you want. A lot to see there. You will not take these things off, I promise you. So whether you're wearing sweats or not, you got to get into a couple of things. And one guy who's going to be in sweats a little bit more often than maybe he wanted to in the coming weeks, late this afternoon, got handed down the verdict that after his best game of the season, maybe his best game in 2 seasons, Frank Clark is going to be missing from this team for 2 weeks on a suspension after those gun charges in California from 2 summers ago?
I keep losing track, but yeah, I mean, it's been a while. So it was before last season. So yeah, you have to go back to 2020 for those.
It's a long ways back. And it's unfortunate because I think Frank, for all the up and down that he's had, he's looked pretty good recently. And I think it's going to help him out to play at a lighter weight. Do you think that even with the rest, he can build on what we just saw against the 49ers in the coming weeks when he's back?
Yeah, I mean, hey, 2 games isn't that big of a deal. And if you're the Chiefs, I think you got to feel like pretty fortunate about the timing of it too, because he's going to be missing the Titans and the Jaguars. Those aren't 2 games that you feel like that you're going to be desperately missing Frank Clark. I mean, the only real, disappointment with it is that, yeah, like you said, I mean, Frank Clark looked like he was kind of building on to something. He had a really good game against the 49ers. That's something that you hope that you could carry across. Missing 2 weeks, I mean, you basically make it 3 with the bye week. That's maybe a little bit more of a rest than you'd like, but hey, if that means that, Frank is now a little bit fresher later in the season, that's got to be only upside. I don't think that missing that kind of time, healthy, not that he's not going to be sitting on, the sidelines. I mean, he's going to be working out, he's going to be doing things. So, to me, that's maybe a, little bit of a silver lining in this, is that a veteran like Frank, who I think has been showing the signs of kind of wearing down as the season goes along with the work he's gotten, is going to get some rest and come back fresh and, kind of mid-November. Maybe that's going to be a blessing in disguise for the Chiefs. We'll see. But also you couple with that they're getting Mike Dana back. He should be fully healthy, you're hoping, after the bye week. He's been getting 2 weeks off, even though he was healthy enough, obviously, to play last week with the calf. This should get him all the way back. Probably a pretty good indication that the Chiefs knew what was coming in the timing of Frank Clark, too, if they were giving Dana some extra rest, knowing that he was going to be needed. You've got the numbers, so I don't think that's a real, stretch at this point as far as replacing Frank. It's just making sure that when he gets back that, you feel like you can build on what he'd been doing the last few weeks.
Yeah, I have to agree. Like, it's good to see him kind of peak a little bit, knowing that he gets this time off. For me, it comes down to 2 guys that have to step their games up, because Frank played 54 snaps this last week out of 78 total. So it was a step off. George Karlaftis only played 50. So that's obviously got to go up in Frank's absence. Carlos Dunlap only played 45. And not to discount Mike Dana, for a second down, I'm glad he's going to be out there. But when it comes to rushing the passer on 3rd down, Dana will get some reps. But for me, it comes down to Karlaftis and Dunlap getting after the passer. Do you think, from what we've seen the last, say, 3 weeks, that there's enough juice there to cover the gap that Frank Clark leaves?
I think there is with the matchups that you're getting. I mean, I think there's some favorable matchups, at least for this group. And I thought that Carlos Dunlap has had some good snaps. I mean, maybe the numbers aren't really there, but I think he's been playing really good football. Karlaftis, I mean, I think you're seeing just how tough it can be sometimes for rookie pass rushers. It's not always so easy, because in college, for the elite rushers and for the production guys like Karlaftis was, strength and speed can take them a long way. But that's not the way it goes in the NFL. You've got to have moves 2nd and 3 and 4, and you've got to be able to do things. And that's why, what he's been talking about learning and trying to pick up from Frank Clark as far as, hands and feet and movement and all these things, and picking up some additional moves, that's critical, because you can't be a one-trick pony as an edge rusher in the NFL. I mean, unless you are just super elite at getting around the edge and speeding around guys or bowling them over. But that's not what we're talking about. I mean, you've got to have multiple moves. But to me, I mean, go back to where's the Chiefs pass rush coming from? It's coming from the inside and Chris Jones. I mean, this is going to be up to Chris Jones the next couple of weeks to carry this team. And if Chris is continuing to be productive on the inside, they're going to move him outside on third downs. You know that. They're just going to put all their pass rushers that they've got out there. So without Frank, it'll be a little bit different mix. But if Chris continues to be productive, these other guys have a chance too.
I have to think so as well. And there's more changes that are coming. There's more evolution that we've seen. Where does it go from here? I want to talk a couple of players that are starting to step up, and hopefully will step out soon. We're going to hit that on the backside of this with our new pals from PrizePicks. It all comes down to this. Do you think Patrick Mahomes is going to go above or below what the line is for him? PrizePicks is your spot for daily fantasy sports. They set a line. All you got to do is pick whether it's more or less and what's going to happen that particular week. It's great stuff. It makes it easy. All you got to do is pick 2 to 5 players. Make sure that you get out there and choose those lines. Nothing easier. You can win up to 10 times the money that you put in your entry. There's no competing against other people. There's no setting multiple lineups. You can play any sport that you like. They offer all kinds of crazy things like NASCAR, MMA, Euro basketball of all things, but obviously NFL is where the action's at. You want to check that out. They make it easy, 60 seconds or less. It's safe, it's fast, it's covered in 30 states plus Canada, and all you got to do is go sign up, grab the PrizePicks app at any app store, or go to prizepicks.com to play daily fantasy sports. That's what you're looking for. And right now, with our promo code Locked On, you get a 100% deposit bonus. You put in 100, they give you 100. You put in 50, they give you 50. It's 100% with our code Locked On over at prizepicks.com. Now, Matt, we're finally getting to where I had hoped we would have been a couple weeks ago. All in all, when we take a step back, first half of the season, I know it's only 7 ball games, but that's what I'm calling it. It's obviously not quite half, but I had them at 5-2. They're 5-2. I didn't have exactly this pair of losses that I expected them to have, but it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, it's still just 2 L's. But I had hoped that things would have emerged a little bit quicker. Bottom line, it's starting to gel on the offensive side, starting to see some things on the defensive side. 2 guys that stood out to me this last week that I hope take this bye week and can multiply it. First, Juju Smith-Schuster. I had hoped that as a guy that can attack the middle, can attack underneath in some of the same areas they're going to cross routes with Travis Kelce, I feel like he's just starting to get there. The strength that he runs with, the contact balance that he has. I think this is going to be the 1-2 punch going forward in terms of attacking defenses where they think they're strong. Do you see the same thing? And do you think that this can continue to be upside for Juju?
Yeah, I think it absolutely is. I mean, I'd asked him last week, what was left to build. I mean, where was the most room for improvement with him and Mahomes being on the same page? And he really feels like it's time that, that they are getting there, that the chemistry has been there. And you certainly look at the last couple of games, back-to-back 100-yard games, back-to-back games with touchdowns. That's a great indication of, how not only one, how comfortable Juju is feeling in this offense, but 2, that Mahomes is trusting him. You're seeing him making the throws to Juju that, he has to be able to make. It's not just feeding the ball to Kelce. I mean, there's clearly, he has a comfort level with Juju now that is absolutely necessary for him to be a cog in this offense. And so I'm putting him in that 90% confidence category now. I mean, you can tell now, because I don't know that Marquez Valdes-Scantling is there yet. Sky Moore's not there yet. There's other guys. I mean, but it's now getting to the point where I think you've got at least a couple of options that Mahomes feels like that. 1, he can throw the ball to at any moment, and they're going to do whatever it needs to do to get to the football. And 2, Juju's enough of a veteran that he is getting on the same page with Mahomes as far as recognizing defenses and the coverages, how it fits into what the Chiefs do offensively, the throws that Mahomes likes to make, and figuring out how to make those adjustments and figuring out, where the space is. I think you saw that working out really well against the 49ers. I mean, I think that's a big reason why Juju had the big day that he did. So to me, that's only going to continue to click. And when you get the confidence that clearly Juju Smith-Schuster's playing with right now, that's great. And that's what they need. They need to be able to have that presence in the short and intermediate part of the field. You have to have a receiver that can get open in space there, because that's the one thing that this offense has to have in order to make everything else work.
I like where you went there because you set me up for this next one, because confidence is the key for this. And on the other side, we know we're going to get some guys back in the form of Trent McDuffie and hopefully Rashad Fenton as well in that secondary. We'll talk about that in a coming show, folks. But in the meantime, I think what we've seen is that what I was a little concerned about Josh Williams having to play this early was the fragility of confidence, especially for a corner. You have to have that. When you take a look at what he did this last week, the fact that, yes, missed some tackles, a little bit iffy in the run defense. You're a cornerback. You're there to cover. That's your primary goal for me. That's what I'm looking for most. He played, 62 snaps out of the 78. That goes a long way. He had 2 PBUs. Only one who got more than one. Obviously, the interception off the pressure. Good for him for making the most of that. But only allowed 60% completion percentage. Targeted 5 times. I feel like that is a good confidence booster. And for a team that I'm not sure Rashad Fenton automatically gets back on the field right now, depending on the physicality of it after the bye week. I feel like Josh Williams is the guy that needed the confidence boost. I think this should have done it. What does that do for a secondary that now with him, Watson, Snead, and McDuffie coming back has the length and has the athleticism to keep up with teams maybe better than they have in the last 2 years?
Yeah, I mean, the injuries did not go the way the Chiefs wanted. I mean, you don't want to have to play without a Trent McDuffie or Rashad Fenton for any period of time. But the Chiefs, felt like, hey, if they could get through this stretch and they get through it with the confidence of these young guys and Jalen Watson and Joshua Williams intact, then they're only going to be the better for it. I mean, the feeling with Josh Williams was that, there was a really strong comparison that I got from the team with Travaris Ward, and that these are both guys that, are kind of late bloomers. They're big guys, but, because of the level of competition, obviously, that Joshua Williams faced, that's a little bit of a bigger leap for him. And I mean, I think that's why you saw Jalen Watson, being in front of him. I mean, even though I think that certainly you look at draft position and you look at overall expectations, the ceiling for Josh Williams is higher, but the gap as far as development, Watson had a little bit more, was closer and being ready to play. And you saw that. I mean, the Chiefs saw that, and that's why the pecking order was the way that it was. But the expectation was that, hey, Josh Williams might be a guy by the end of the year, just like Travaris Ward's rookie season in December, when he had to step in for injuries and was able to play. You saw that. But Josh Williams having to do that early and surviving it is good. I mean, now that means that now the Chiefs know that they can trust him, that they can go to him. He's going to have the confidence that if he's required to step in late in the season and or in the postseason, he's going to feel like he can get it done. There's not going to be an unknown there. So this is, to me, hey, no, you didn't want the McDuffie and Fenton to miss any time, but the experience that those two guys have gotten is astronomically valuable to the Chiefs.
I couldn't agree more. And I will say this too, that as you take the step back, the comparison to Travaris Ward is really telling, because I do feel like the play that he did get beat badly on, Josh Williams, this last ball game, was again a play that he played 95% of the rep and just lost on the final turnaround there to finish the play, much like we saw with Travaris when he was younger as well, where it was about getting the head around at the back end of the play at the last moment. So the comparison is not only apt, but it also tells you that there's still a lot of upside there. I think he's got a lower floor than Watson, and to your point about the level of competition, but that ceiling being higher, it is about what happens next. And so I just want to take a step back right now. We don't know the injury situation, who's going to be back when. When they come back, I have to think that McDuffie's an instant starter. The question for me becomes, how do you use Rashad Fenton? If you had your druthers right now today, what would you do with this corner group?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a tough decision, because I do think you're right. I mean, McDuffie is probably stepping in immediately, but I could also see with the extended time off that maybe this is going to be a situation where Dave Merritt wants to keep that rotation and keep these guys in. So maybe it's not going to be McDuffie playing 100% of the snaps. I mean, especially what you've got in Watson, that you maybe want to let him continue to get some work to keep him fresh. So I could certainly see that. L'Jarius Sneed's going to play 100%. I mean, there's no doubt he's not coming off the field. The question, is, really to me about who they put on the outside when they're playing in some of those nickel situations. And I can see there's going to be some rotation there. That's what I would definitely do. I mean, the only tough thing is that it's hard to keep 4 guys in the rotation. Having a 3-guy rotation through 2 spots is doable. It's just going to be, I think, really hard to find some work for Joshua Williams unless it's in some dime situations. That's going to be the tough part. But to me, I think you find a way to get all three of those guys on the field. One, because Fitton and McDuffie have missed enough time that you don't want fatigue and stamina to be an issue. You want to get those guys to be able to build up slowly. I don't think you want Watson to just turn it off immediately. I think you want to take advantage of the fact that he's warmed up and ready to go and playing with a lot of confidence. Williams is going to be the tough guy to find some work for, and that's going to be the one that you're probably going to be leaving out for now. But he's going to continue to still learn. I still think that the experience is going to be valuable because let's face it, chances are you're going to need him again at some point this season.
Yeah, injuries keep happening whether we like it or not. They won't happen this week though, folks, unless somebody has a JPP event. It should be nice and relaxing and chill out this week. We're going to have more for you on what this is going to look like when they return from the bye, who's going to go where, and what the changes will be. I actually have a couple more predictions we'll go through next time with Matt. But Matt, thanks for locking us down here as we get to take a breath for a couple of minutes.
A nice, easy, fun bye week. That's all we're looking for.
Knock on wood. All right,
and
everybody.
No ledges for you, Ryan. No talking you off the ledge this week.
No. If anything goes wrong, there will be a ledge. I'll just tell you that now. Folks, we'll have more for you tomorrow. Chris will be back. And we have a couple of concepts of what we want to see happen. Don't miss that. And we'll have it all for you as the team resumes next week. So don't miss the thing here on Locked On Chiefs.